Listen up, people. That's right. It's time to listen to the sparks of bliss in your life. I'm your host and life coach, Caroline de Posada from Miami, Florida. And this podcast is an invitation to join me in upgrading our mindset, wellness, and relationships so that together we create a life that unlocks our bliss. Join me each week as we explore practical strategies, inspiring stories, and the moments of clarity, or as we like to call them, los momenticos, that make the world a little more magical. Consider this your weekly dose of wisdom in your pocket. Are you ready? Let's do this. Hey, listeners, welcome to episode number 20 of Blissin' Up. So we are midway through September, and today I want to share with you a question that deeply impacted me when I first heard it, and I've kind of been carrying with me in my subconscious subtly until this month, where it's really become a prominent daily question that I'm asking. And I think it's because of the theme that I chose for September, the Simply Soulful September. And the question is, what is saving my life? Now, I first heard this question on Emily P. Freeman's Next Right Thing podcast. She was talking about how she had read a book, and in that book, this speaker or the author had gone to deliver a speech, and they asked her in the Q&A, what is saving your life? And apparently that question comes from somebody else. You know, the question has been passed along from community to community because it's such an important question, and it really impacted Emily P. Freeman. So she created a podcast episode called What's Saving My Life Autumn Edition, which is funny because I must have heard this episode either last September or the September before, I'm not sure. But, you know, sometimes we hear these things and there's seeds that are planted into our minds and then they bloom in their own time, right? Like they have a moment where they just blossom and they make sense and they come back, they resurface in your life. So I had heard this podcast, and when she talked about that question, and she kind of itemized all the things that was saving her life in autumn, that season. When I heard it, I thought it was just absolutely lovely. She compared it to how in our life, we're kind of great about identifying what's killing us, right? Like we're like, oh my God, this job is killing me, or this cold is killing me, or this commute is killing me, right? But we tend to focus less on the things that are saving us, that are, you know, just making our life so much better. And she shared the importance of focusing on that. Now, interestingly, I think one of the reasons this resonated so much with me was because oftentimes we do things that are aligned, but we just use different words for them. So in my mind, I did a practice like this before with my community. I was hosting a group challenge. It was a deep dive core challenge. And I invited my community to create a joy audit. And the exercise for that time period in that challenge was they had to kind of notice what were the things that they did on a daily basis that brought them joy. And just kind of like pay attention to it. They didn't have to change anything about their lives. It was literally just an audit. And the exercise was every time that you do something that deeply, deeply brings you joy, I want you to jot it down. And when I heard Emily talk about what's saving your life, my first thought went to the joy audit, because I think what saves your life is usually the things that bring you deep joy. So here we are, fast forward all this time, and I have this theme of Simply Soulful September, and I thought about making a list of the things that I want to simplify, the things in my life that are soulful that I want to incorporate, that I want to add more of, the things that I want to pay attention to this season and do more of. And my reasoning for that was like, I'm entering September with a warmth and a coziness energy. That's the energy that I'm feeling for this season. And I want to nurture that energy. I want to, my first thought, was like, light candles, drink tea, make some soup, I just, all these things came to the surface when I thought about this theme of simply soulful. And then as the days have gone by, I noticed something, which is I started to notice that what's saving my life was like playing in my brain. And I'll give you an example. I guess because the energy of September is simply and soulful, and I'm actively looking for what I want to simplify and what I want to be soulful, I'm also noticing I'm noticing what the energy is and what the intention is and what real life looks like, right? So I was in the shower and I have this soap. It's a sea salt scrub soap that my mother-in-law brought me from Israel. And it came in this little box, and I found myself enjoying this soap because it has like these little salt scrubs on them, and when I use the soap, it's like it's such a what's the word that I'm thinking, there's like a Reddit form of this. My husband has showed this to me, but I cannot remember the name, but it's like oddly satisfying or awkwardly satisfying or something like that. I thought about this soap feeling that like awkwardly satisfying when I scrub my arm with the soap. And every day that I've been using this soap has brought me so much joy. And for some reason I was in the shower using the soap and I thought, gosh, if I wrote a list of what's saving my life like Emily P. Freeman did that day, I would probably put this soap. And then I thought, why don't I start paying attention to what are the other things that are saving my life? And then things just started coming up for me. I woke up in the morning early, and I've been posting these on Instagram, like a simply soulful September tip, right? Of things that I've just noticed in my life that are saving my life. One of them was I woke up early in the morning and the kids weren't up yet. My husband wasn't up yet, which is, par for the course in my house. I always wake up before everybody else. But I lit up all the candles in the house because when I first thought about September and the coziness, I thought candles. So I lit all of the candles and they smelled so yummy and the house was so cozy and dark. And I thought, my God, mornings like this save my life. Not every morning can be like that. Some days I wake up late. Some days I have to go to the gym. Some days I don't have time for candles. Some days I'm in a bad mood. I mean, like not every day is like that. But that particular day, I'm like, days like this with candles save my life. Then I went to the gym yesterday, and at the gym, the trainer put an 80s soundtrack. Like I guess it was a playlist on Spotify or something with 80s music. And I'm listening to Madonna, and I'm listening to that song, Two of Hearts, Two Hearts That Beat as One. I hope my kids don't listen to this because they will make fun of my singing. But I listened to that song and it just enhanced my workout tremendously. I absolutely loved the workout. I was like, this is like the funnest workout of my life. And I thought, gosh, working out to an 80s playlist is totally saving my life today, right? I don't know. There was just something so special about it. And I thought, do you take the time to notice what are the things that save your life on a daily basis. The simple things, the little things that bring you a lot of joy, or that create a spark of bliss, or that just make your day a little bit more enjoyable or a little bit more pleasant. And then it dawned on me that this is the perfect season for this kind of reflection, because fall is the time for harvesting. And when you think about the concept of harvesting, what it really represents is a time of reaping the benefits of the fruits of your labor, right? It's a time to prepare for the next cycle, but also reap the benefits of what you've done throughout the year. If you've been putting in effort in your life, creating habits, rituals, working, investing, nurturing, growing, you've just been putting in the time, putting in the work, putting in the effort in your life, there comes a season where you get to enjoy the fruits of that labor. And when you're living an aligned life, the hope is that you get to enjoy the fruits of that labor yearly, annually, right? Now, there might be things that you are still working, investing, putting effort in that you are not yet ready to reap the benefits of, right? Maybe it'll be next year or the year after that, because some things take a lot longer. Everything doesn't work in an annual cycle. That's not the way that life works. I mean, that's the way nature works typically, but it's not the way that life works. Like sometimes things you invest and it takes years before you can reap the benefits. But if you are living a life of intention, there's some benefit you're going to get to reap. There's something that you get to enjoy, reflect, and savor, or enjoy the harvest nature of. So for me, what's saving my life this September has been a way to notice what are the practices, the things that I already have in my life, or that I do, that I am reaping the benefits of. So one of them is exercise. And what made it soulful this September was the 80s playlist. Now, I didn't intentionally create the 80s playlist at all. I didn't even know that it was going to be an 80s playlist. But because I'm in this energy and I'm going to the gym, right? I'm exercising, this came up and I was already looking for what's soulful in my life. I'm looking for the simple things in my life that bring me that joy, that bliss. And the 80s music was like, that's it. It's saving my life. And then I thought, well, what are things that I could reintroduce into my life that I've done in the past that have been simple and soulful? And maybe they're things that I wasn't able to do in the past, but I can do now. For example, running with my running group. I wasn't able to run with my running group for the last couple of years because of the commute with my children. My kids were in 3 different schools. My commute was like 2 hours. I couldn't make it on time, so I had to shift my schedule, and there went my running group day, running group time with my running buddies. And I had to give that up. Now, I don't consider that, by the way, a sacrifice, because I understood when it was happening that it was a season and that I would not be taking my kids to school forever. So I decided at that time that I was going to savor the season of taking my kids to school, even if the commute was long, even if I couldn't run with my running group. And I was never going to look at it as a sacrifice, because it was like this temporary time that I got to cherish with my kids. So lo and behold, that time is expired. Now my kids are all in one school, so the commute has changed. And in just a couple of months, my son will be driving to school. So I'll really have so much time. Like just like that, the season is over. But anyway, because it's changed, I thought, September, soulful, running group. I can go back to running with my friends on Thursdays. So I got up on a Thursday and I went to run with my running buddy, and I got to run with my dear friend Bruce Turkel, whom I love. I got to see my other friend David Altschuler, whom I love. I got to see Carl. I got to see Stella. It was just so wonderful that I could, go back after all this time and be welcomed with open arms. And it was something simple that I could do, and it was full of soul, and it just made my September. And I thought, my Thursday runs save my life, right? They just make my life so much better. So that question I've been carrying into my everyday, and it is inspiring me to open my eyes, to look around for the rituals, the habits, the practices that I have already, or that I want more of, or that I want to resume, and then go from there. And then it begs the next question. If these are the things that save your life, how do you make sure that you keep them in your life when circumstances present themselves, when, life changes, when life throws you a curveball? Now, it's a good example to use the running group as one of those things, because there was a time that I couldn't run on Thursdays. And even if that was something that saves my life, it wasn't an appropriate time for me to do that. So I had to find another way, another thing to replace that thing with for that time. And that was totally okay. But now I get to resume it. And that's life. That's how we move it along, like how we go through the seasons and we find our way along the path. So today, my invitation to you is to start paying attention to the things that save your life. And they could be simple. It could be simple, like, for me, when I was doing that commute in the mornings, it was like such a long commute. Tuesday mornings were my mornings with Emily P. Freeman, and the Next Right Thing podcast saved my life for a long, long, long time. And for you, maybe it's this podcast. Who knows? Maybe I would love it if it were this podcast, but maybe it is this podcast that might be saving your life. Or maybe it's having lunch with a friend, or music, or something that smells yummy, like a vanilla, spray that you put on, or making a home cooked meal and sharing that with your family. I have one of my clients, this is the month where she's going into structure September. So she wants to create a lot of structure, and she wants to eat healthy foods and whole foods, and she wants to cook at home. And when we started talking about it, she told me that one of the joys that she gets from cooking at home is that her son, who's still little, likes to chop vegetables next to her. And he gets so excited when he gets to chop vegetables. So rather than looking at this like, oh, I have to cook tonight, oh, I have to eat healthy, we got to think about, oh my God, I get to chop vegetables with my kiddo today. And maybe one day she'll look back and she'll be like, those sessions of chopping vegetables with my kid really saved my life when I was trying to get healthy. So I just want you to think about this. I want you to think about that question. I want you to incorporate it into your month this month. Think about the theme. Think about how you're approaching September and the season. What are you reflecting on? What are you reaping the benefits of? What is going on in this harvesting season? And what do you want to plant today that you can reap the benefits of next September? Will you listen to this podcast next September and think, wow, that was the beginning when I first started implementing this habit, and now it is saving my life. That was when I first decluttered, or I started eating healthy, or I started exercising, or I finally started, weekly date nights with my husband, or my girlfriends and I started going to the movies on Tuesdays, which is something that I've started doing with two of my girlfriends and might make my list of saving my life one of these days. Think about that and incorporate a life that is always saving your life. Because there will be things that are killers. There will always be things that are killers, and they will hurt and they will bring you down. But when you have a practice of knowing the things that save your life, it makes the killers a lot more bearable. I hope you have a sacred Sunday, a little time to reflect, and I hope that the rest of this month is a month of finding the things that save your life. Have a good one, guys. That's it for today's episode. Thanks so much for being here. I am deeply, deeply grateful for this time to connect. If you're loving this podcast, I'd love if you could support me by subscribing, rating, and or leaving a review wherever you listen to podcasts. Those reviews help us so much. And if you know of someone who could really use a voice like mine in their head, please share this with them and let them know how much you care about their bliss. Now, if you are feeling called to dig deeper and really work on elevating your mindset, wellness, and your relationships to create a healthier, happier, and more meaningful life, then I invite you to schedule a 60-minute complimentary consultation with me. Let's have a meaningful conversation and see if working together is in our future. You can find the link to the calendar of consults right there in my show notes, but you can also connect with me on my website, carolinedeposada.com, or just send me a DM on Instagram at Caroline de Posada. Like my friend always says, the project is big and you're a part of it. So thanks for being here.